Welcome back to Starcastic Remarks. Alongside nobody else here tonight, it's just me, your lovely and gracious host, Ryan Chambers. We are the official Dallas Stars podcast of THPN here. Thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook, as always, for being our sponsor. That promo code there, once again, is THPN. If you're here for the first time and you're enjoying the content here tonight, which will probably be a little bit of a rant and a little bit of a meltdown from me, and I hope not to get there, but we're probably going to get there. I'm just going to tell you now. Then please consider clicking like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and even if you're a Chicago fan, we'd appreciate it. Yeah, you can see the wrath of a Stars fan here tonight because there's a lot that we're gonna have to talk about here this evening because I've got note after note after note about this game here this evening. Once again, click like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you're listening on the audio side, leave us a 5-star review. I'd really appreciate that. So, 4 straight games without a win, and tonight the Dallas Stars didn't just lose a hockey game. They slowly and painfully convinced themselves that effort was optional here tonight. And they paid for it in real time. And then when they finally decided to start playing, it was already too late. And that was towards the end of the second and towards the end of the third, and it was too much and too late. Too much and too late. I'm honestly past frustration with this team. I was going to do an episode last night after the game against Buffalo. I didn't hold them completely, for that game against Buffalo. Buffalo comes in, they're on an 8-game winning streak. They're playing really well. I mean, confidence goes a long way with winning games. That they still did not play well, but again, they've not made this a consistent thing. And with the game here tonight, I expected I frankly I didn't care. I didn't care that it was the second night of a back-to-back. I don't care where your energy's at. You've had a lot of days off, and I know it's weird, but you're professional hockey players and you have to get over it. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to step on the toes or step on the tails of our players, but at some point you can't make excuses for the team right here. And a 4-game winless skid is not acceptable for a team that should not be in and it's not just like it's 2 of the 4 games we lost to Chicago without 2 of their best players, Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar. Their 2 best players are not in the lineup for either game. The Hawks themselves are struggling, and the Hawks are able to put up freaking goals galore like they're the 1940s Canadians against the Dallas Stars team who has been fighting, injury bugs all the time, but they've been so successful without, dealing with all of these injuries. I'm past frustration with the team here today. I'm at the stage where I stop asking what went wrong, and I start asking, like, why are we even doing this? Like, why are we still doing this? Because this wasn't new. When it becomes a consistent thing, that's when I become frustrated, and that's when I get upset. And the thing is after the first period, it wasn't surprising. I was surprised in the first period in the fact that the Stars didn't come out with a better effort. But after that, I was just like, you know what? Yeah, I'm not surprised, and it wasn't even complicated because I was just like, the Stars are just not winning puck battles along the boards. And this is a game where you know exactly what you're supposed to do. This was a perfect game to figure out what the heck you have to do to get over this 3 winless game skid. You've played this team twice in a week now. They completely humiliated you the first time. You had a terrible game against Buffalo, and you have an opportunity to immediately just have instant amnesia, turn around, and not just win a game, but it completely erased the last 3 games immediately, and against a team who beat you recently, and against the worst team, one of the worst teams in the NHL statistically right now. Yes, I understand they're not that bad when they have Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar, but still, Still, they are statistically one of the worst teams in the league right now. You don't play soft. You decide to play hard and you give it your all the entire time. And there was not a ton of compete here tonight. There was no sense of urgency. And when they finally did, it was when it was 6-on-5. It was like they were hoping the power play would save them here tonight. It didn't. Special teams almost did, and the 6-on-5 side, thank goodness for that, didn't matter. Absolutely didn't matter. And we're doing this all on top of while trying to catch Colorado, which we are way past that at this point. And Minnesota is hitting another gear and catching up to us. I think they're, you know what? I'm going to do it now. I'm going to look at how close they are. I haven't even looked where they're at in the standings right now. But I would bet they are within 3 points of us. I would get 2. I was right. 2. We got 57. Colorado is now 10 points ahead of us, and they have 2 games in hand. You can't look back and be and I understand that's their job on the broadcast is they're trying to hit some of the good points and stuff like that and look at what they've done. And also Razor was like, well, look at what the Jets have done recently, and the Jets have just completely fallen off the map, which they have, and that's true. But I don't care about the other teams. I don't care about what else is going on with that. What are we doing to fix this? Nothing. There was zero compete from the Stars here tonight. So let's just get into the game recap here real quick. So let's just crawl through this because rushing past it just kind of lets them off the hook. Okay, so we're gonna crawl through this game recap, and this might take a while. Coming in, the notes I had is they're already winless in 3. That they had a 6-game point streak before that, so I was kind of letting them and making excuses for them. This is the kind of game where you kind of reassert yourself and who you are. That was the thing that I said in my notes. It's New Year's Day. They've had the best points percentage on this date in years. Out of their 4 seasons, they've made this Western Conference final the past 3. This is their best. Look at me making excuses again. And Ottinger is in net. Ottinger is in net instead of Casey DeSmith. And early on, you see some competence from the Stars, a little bit, just a little bit. Hens would get a premium look off of a really good cross zone feed from Bork. Bork continues to look better. That's probably the one silver lining in all of this. There's timing, there's awareness there. Excuse me. Harley activates and has a chance. Labushkin had a really good, honest defensive play there. And for a handful of shifts, Dallas looked like a team that kind of understood the stakes. And then their defensive zone coverage just rotted in front of my eyes. And it was people that you don't expect to make issues, to have issues. Miro forces a pass that has no business being attempted. It's a turnover. Chicago settles it in, and Dallas survives it. But here's the problem: that turnover doesn't, anger them or anything. It doesn't bring any kind of urgency or spark a response. It's just kind of accepted, and they go about it. Like, come on. And once they start accepting, stuff like that in their own zone, that's when I knew that this night was already heading somewhere bad. It was going to be terrible. Bertuzzi was just a man possessed tonight. Every time there was a major chance, he was in front of the net. He was there. I would not be beside myself if I said that he had about 8 to 10 scoring chances here tonight. Not all of them high danger, but 8 to 10 scoring chances or where his name was mentioned during a scoring chance. He's the one guy that you have to focus on. The one guy. And you're allowing him to do whatever the heck he wants in the crease area. He was completely alone in the slot. Completely alone. And that wouldn't be the first time the Stars would leave players alone in the slot. And he was just comfortably alone in the slot. They're present physically, but they're just completely absent mentally when it comes to some of their defensive play here tonight. Levshunov would make a play at some point. Burakovsky would hit the outside of the post on a slot. And then that was the warning shot. And then I was just like, okay, maybe if they survive this and it just goes about doing stuff, then, whatever. Dallas was forcing some turnovers at this point, but and this is the maddening part. They actually do disrupt what Chicago is doing. They disrupt what they're doing. And after that, every turnover is followed by either hesitation or second guessing or just lack of urgency or like a killer instinct. You are a better team. Show everybody that you are a better team. You're not taking advantage of the game and you're not dominating the game like you should. Turnover, pause, reset. Chicago breeze. That's what it was here tonight. On top of the Stars, and even Razor pointed this out, after I thought it in my head and wrote it down in my notes, but they were not clearing pucks out. After Otter would make the initial save or something like that, it was just complete chaos around Otter the entire time, and that allowed for. And it's not just in this game. It was it was against Buffalo. And it was even in the first game against Chicago as well. That was the frustrating thing about all of this. It was consistent, and it's been that consistent for the last 4 games. That's the first thing that was really frustrating. And then the second thing, all of the turnovers, they're not doing anything with it. When they were forcing turnovers, the very few times they were and actually trying to do something offensively, they were not getting anything out of it. They weren't even no momentum, no shots, not even like. And then I mean, perfect example, like Steele and Rantanen. Steele and Rantanen going 2-on-1 the opposite way. Steele doesn't even connect on a pass to allow Rantanen to take a shot, and it just goes to the corner. And you could even watch Rantanen's stick language in the corner to Knight's right, down in the corner. He just flicks it around the boards. You could tell that he was frustrated, and you know what? Good for him. Bork would tip one off the post. Robertson would bulldoze Crevier in the corner, which is great, but it's the one guy trying to light a match in a room full of damp wood. That's what it felt like. And you say it in the moment. It's like one line can't carry this. And right at that point, it was the Bork line. It was Bork, Hintz, and Robertson. And I even said this in my notes. I was like, maybe it's too early to switch Duchesne and Steele, but maybe that needs to happen here tonight. And I kind of wish that Glenn Goldson had just done it then and there. And I should have just, like, if I was the coach there and I had thought that in my head and didn't do it right then and there, that's terrible. Then it comes to like the most revealing sequence of this first period. And what happens is Dallas fails to clear it out again. They fail to flip it out. They fail to win a board battle. They fail to buy themselves some time, and Chicago scores. And yes, Rantanen responds, but it it, it it was a superstar doing a superstar thing, is what it was. That's what it was. He has to. That right there should have been enough to be like, okay, guys, we got ourselves like an extra little, extra card here, a get out of jail free card with how crappy we've been playing. It's back to 0-0 going into the first intermission. Yes, 1-1, but you get my point. It's tied. And then this is where it gets from really frustrating to just absolutely enraging. Nothing changes. Second period, you know what? Let me set up the second period, because this is what happens. Okay, they can't get out of their zone in the final seconds of the first period, so they have to spend more time in their own zone at the very end of the first period, and that allows the ref to call a penalty against Nils Lundqvist. And everyone in the congregation says, "But Ryan, it shouldn't have been a penalty." Yes, you are correct. I thought it was very, very weak. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was a dumb call. You know what could have happened? The Stars could have cleared the zone, and then that wouldn't have even been an issue. What a noble thing to think about. You just clear out the zone. That play never happens. It doesn't. And it doesn't allow the ref to call that a penalty. Get it out of your zone. This is not a game that you can blame the refs on. Yeah, the Stars only got one power play. It's not like it would have done any good. You kidding me? Bullcrap. This is where I really lost it. Is at the top of the second period, and 13 seconds in, Chicago makes it 2-1 on the power play. 2 power play goals. Completely alone in front. Completely alone in front on a penalty kill. Great job, penalty kill. Just they as soon as that happened, that's when it just became from frustrating to enraging. Uh, the Stars just flat out refused to win the game with inches here tonight, and refused to dig down deep and push a little bit more compete into the game here tonight. And again, it's not fair for me to say that because I'm not a professional athlete, and I know that they're in the second game of a back to back, and it's from you know New Year's Eve to New Year's Day. But you gotta at some point stop making excuses for a 4-game winless skid. That's where it is. I don't care how many games are on the schedule. I don't care really how tired they are, and I don't care if it's January or March or October or April. You have to compete. You have to compete because if you don't compete in your own zone, nothing else matters. The defensive coverage was just terrible tonight. And nothing like seriously nothing else matters if you don't compete. Not on your power play, not on your stars, not your analytics, not your vibes. And right now, this team is just passing their problems along and not getting any kind of compete extra compete out of anybody. Nobody. Not one. When you're not going to compete, that's how you're going to lose games. That even against the quote unquote bad teams. There's no bad teams in the NHL anymore, in my opinion. The Chicago smelled it in the second period. They skated with confidence. Dallas would chase after that 2-on-1. Rebounds would pile up, and then Mikheyev walks around Esa Lindell after they once again can't get out of their own zone, and it should have been out 10 seconds earlier. And Mikheyev goes around Esa Lindell, our best defenseman, our true defensive defenseman, and just holds it against him, brings it to his forehand, and just tucks it around Otter. And then the penalties start right there, and Chicago gets another power play because Miro. I didn't even see it. I'll be honest with you because I was just beside myself and trying to contain myself and my frustration. Uh, did something with the glass, shattered the glass, caused an issue for a delay of game, and they would go back to the penalty kill again and again. And then Ritzkovian would also do the same thing in the second period, and I'm not blaming him specifically for it, but it was just the whole team in general couldn't get the puck out. They were contained within their own zone and couldn't get it out, and it led to that. You can't defend forever if you refuse to clear the puck, and it's just simple math and physics, man. Like the third period arrived, and what I wanted them to do was dominate, show something. They showed something, and then I wasn't going to get onto Otter because I thought Otter had a really good game, and then his whatever you want to call it. Trying to think of a funny analogy, but I can't because it was just that bad. It's just like he laid a turd on a pillow and just gave it to Mikheyev and said, "Here you go." Makes it 4-1, and that was the crushing goal because that ended up being the game winner. That turd on a pillow. Let's make it a fancy pillow to make it even just make it a little bit better. A turd on a fancy pillow is the game winner. And that's the moment where I kept waiting for Dallas to compete. I kept waiting for the thing to actually start playing hockey and competing. They finally did it towards the end of the second period. 5 minutes remaining. I think I did like a very passive aggressive sarcastic tweet on X about 5 minutes remaining in the period. And then no, I don't care about the score of the game and that it was 4-3. I didn't care if it stayed 4-1 or if it was 8-1 or if the game ends like it does tonight with a 4-3 score. This was a poor effort from the Dallas Stars here tonight. This needs to be one where they take the footage, they go outside, they build an altar, they put and I'm old, so I'm gonna and I have to have something physical. So in order for this analogy to make sense, and they need to take this VHS tape that they floated all of this crap on and this game, put it in the center of the altar, and light it on fire. Remember how you felt after this game? Put this in the back of your mind and have instant amnesia about this. When they play on Sunday or Saturday, I guess. Is it Saturdays? Someone help me and chat. Y'all help me out here. It's either Saturday or Sunday. When they play this weekend, this better be a complete domination of whoever they play. I don't care. I don't care if it's Colorado. I know it's not Colorado, but I don't care if it's Colorado or if it's the freaking Winnipeg Jets. I don't care. There needs to be a domination game out of this team, and then it needs to be a full 60-minute sprint to the other zone and competing the entire game. If the game ends up being 4-3 and they competed the entire time, then I'll be happy. Went off on a rant, but Robo and Duchesne both, yay for them. Golf claps around. Would both score it on 6-on-5. And yeah, they had the extra, the extra man. And good on Glenn Golitzson to pull that card early with basically 4.5 minutes remaining. It was like 4.25 actually, I think. But good on him to make that move because that at least gave his team a chance to win the game. But again, it just makes it hurt even more that the goal that Otter let in, the turd on a fancy pillow was the one that ended up being the game winner. Again, to a team who is 2-6-2 in their last 10, and now 2 of their wins in the last 11 have been against the Stars. They won 3 games in their last 11, and 2 of them are against the second. Well, I guess now the third best team in the NHL. Because I think when Minnesota is a better team than Dallas right now. That's frustrating. That's really, really, really frustrating. And when Dallas was pushing late, let me make sure I make this clear. That was not domination at all. The last 4.25 minutes, it wasn't. It was just complete desperation. And insert your own word of whatever you want to use: urgency, completeness, that desperation, whatever. That part of their game has been missing the last 4 games, going back before Christmas. And you could say, "Oh, Ryan," and make excuses and blah blah blah, and 3 games off in between this and blah blah blah. And at some point, you have to stop making excuses and compete and go out and win a hockey game. I'm sorry. We're past excuses at this point. Luckily, you have played so well up to this point that you're not having to worry about losing a playoff spot. But right now, you're definitely looking like you're losing home ice advantage in the playoffs. right now, I wouldn't want to give Minnesota home ice advantage in the playoffs, which more than likely that's who we're going to have to play. Maybe if they get it framed to them that way, maybe they will actually compete a little bit more and play a little bit better. I don't know. That's the story here tonight. Final takeaway: this wasn't unlucky, and I'll say it again until it sticks. This wasn't unlucky. This was a choice. 4 straight games without a win because this team keeps flirting with effort instead of committing to dominance, which we know that they can do. Good teams don't turn effort on when it's convenient. They make it non-negotiable. Look at Colorado. Can you imagine how hard it is to play for on that team right now, knowing how much of a giant lead you have over the rest of the NHL? That and that's the and I'll give Razor credit. I'm stealing his words. That's the impressive thing about Colorado. They're able to keep that sense of urgency and that sense of completeness throughout this season, all the way through. We're about halfway through now, and they've had it for the entire season. The Stars have to figure that out. And until they do, this skid isn't just a phase. It's a warning label. Biggest winner, biggest loser here tonight. Do I even have to give a biggest winner? I guess I'll give it to Rantanen because I don't give it enough to him because I just know how good he is, and there's other players that deserve to be recognized as well. But this is the second time where he's done something like this, and he's just done something dirty to the other goalie, single handedly when the Stars aren't playing well, and gave the Stars a chance to come back in this game, and they literally crapped it immediately on the penalty kill at the beginning of the second. So look at me. I'm trying to say something positive. I immediately turned it negative. Anyways, biggest winner tonight, Mikko Rantanen. The biggest loser is I guess it's twofold. There's a couple of things. First thing is the level of compete. I've said that so many times in this episode, and I'm sure y'all are sick of me hearing me say that over and over and over. And again, insert your own word here: completeness, low, urgency, desperation, whatever. Throw it in there. That's the first. That's the first part of, and it's not just one person. I'm saying this about it. It's the entire team, and I'm not trying to call this person out on X, and I won't say them here because it's just not fair for me to call them out here on a public platform or anything. But someone said, "Oh, Harley needs to be healthy scratched," and I'm like, Harley is the furthest thing from the problem right now. It's the entire team, the absolute entire team. Level of compete needs to be better. And the second thing is you have got to win more of these board battles coming out of your own zone. Your defensive coverage has been flat out non-existent. ECHL level. No offense to the ECHL. But ECHL level compared to NHL offenses. I mean, how many of the goals today were just, here you go. I'm going to be seeing that second power play goal in my nightmares tonight. It is going to bug the crud out of me for the next couple of days until Dallas can play again. And hopefully Dallas can actually give me a win so that all of this stuff I'm feeling can be gone and out of my mind. So it's my biggest winner. It's my biggest loser. We're going to wrap it up here tonight. And I appreciate you guys being here with me. Another therapy session here on Starcastic Remarks. We really appreciate it. All of y'all's support here. Thank you to those of you who are listening live. Y'all are crazy, and to want to come and listen to content after a really crappy game like that, hats off to y'all. Y'all are the real MVPs here. There's even more of you who are also doing so afterwards, and y'all are the more level-headed ones. Much more level-headed than me. I appreciate you guys as well. Make sure that you click like and subscribe on YouTube. You hit that notification bell. We're really trying to get to that fourth digit here on YouTube. Make sure that you help us do that, please. We really, really appreciate that. I'm not above begging for those subscriber counts at this point. We are so close, less than 50. We'd appreciate your help there. If you're listening on the audio side, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review wherever that may be on your favorite podcast platform of choice. Starcasticremarks.com for all the latest info on our podcast. And also check out sarcasticremarksshop.com for our merch. And if you'd like to become a Who Cares Club member, that's $5 a month. The information for that is in the link in the description below, whether you're listening on the audio platforms or on YouTube. Alongside nobody else here tonight, thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook, promo code THPN. My name is Ryan. We'll catch you guys on the flip side, and we hope you guys have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you guys are listening. Thank you all for listening to my rant, and hopefully we can say go Stars on the weekend. Goodbye, everybody.